The battle had been raging for 3 standard galactic hours when Admiral Vex Torin of the Kalari Dominion realized his fleet was dying. His flagship, the Eternal Conquest, shuddered as another plasma burst struck its forward shields. Through the massive observation window, he watched 2 of his cruisers break apart in silent explosions, their debris scattering across the void like glittering dust. The Zorath Collective had brought more ships than his intelligence officers had predicted. Much more. "Admiral, we have lost contact with the 7th Battle Group," his tactical officer reported, her blue-scaled face tight with controlled fear. "The Zorath Dreadnought is advancing on our position." Vex Torin gripped the arms of his command chair. His 4 eyes scanned the holographic display floating before him, watching the red enemy markers slowly surrounding his remaining ships. The Kalari had ruled this sector for 2,000 years. They had never faced defeat like this. "Pull the remaining cruisers into defensive formation around the civilian transports," he commanded. "We must protect the evacuation ships at all costs." Behind his fleet, 17 massive transport vessels carried over 2 million Kalari civilians fleeing from the conquered colonies. If those ships fell, an entire generation of his people would die in the cold darkness of space. The Zorath Collective had emerged from the outer rim 3 years ago, and they had spread across the galaxy like a plague. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, and their soldiers knew no fear. They conquered world after world, enslaving or destroying every species they encountered. The Kalari Dominion had been the last major power standing against them. Now that power was crumbling. "Admiral, the Zorath commander is broadcasting on all frequencies," the communications officer announced. Vex Torin nodded slowly. "Put it through." The holographic display shifted, and the image of a Zorath commander appeared. The creature was terrifying to behold. Its body was covered in thick black armor that seemed to grow from its flesh. Multiple red eyes glowed with cruel intelligence above a mouth filled with rows of sharp teeth. "Admiral Vex Torin," the Zorath spoke, its voice like grinding metal. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your worlds have fallen. Surrender now, and I will grant your civilians a quick death. Continue to resist, and I will make their suffering last for generations." Vex Torin felt cold rage building in his chest. "The Kalari do not surrender to murderers. We will fight until our last ship burns." The Zorath commander laughed, a horrible sound that echoed through the bridge. "Then burn you shall. In 1 hour, there will be nothing left of your people but ash and memory." The transmission ended. Vex Torin looked at his officers. These were men and women he had served with for decades. They had families, dreams, lives that would end today in fire and vacuum. "It has been an honor," he said quietly. Before anyone could respond, his sensor officer shouted in alarm. "Admiral, I am detecting an unknown energy signature. It appeared from nowhere. Distance is 50,000 kilometers, directly between our fleet and the Zorath Armada." Vex Torin spun toward the display. "What? Show me." The holographic map shifted, and there, in the center of the battlefield, a new marker appeared. It was yellow, indicating an unknown vessel. "What kind of ship? Zorath reinforcements?" "Negative, Admiral. The energy signature does not match any known Zorath design." The sensor officer's voice was filled with confusion. "It does not match any known design in our database. The ship is... It is not there, Admiral. I am detecting energy but no physical mass." Vex Torin leaned forward. "Explain." "I cannot. The readings make no sense. It is as if something is present but also not present at the same time." The communications officer interrupted. "Admiral, the Zorath fleet has stopped its advance. They are holding position." On the main view screen, Vex Torin could see the massive Zorath Armada. Hundreds of warships filled the void, their weapons charged and ready. But they were no longer moving. They seemed to be waiting. They see it too, his tactical officer whispered. Whatever it is, the Zorath have noticed it as well. For a long moment, nothing happened. Both fleets hung in space, watching the impossible energy signature that existed between them. Then space itself seemed to tear apart. Vexatoran had witnessed many things in his centuries of life. He had seen stars being born in clouds of cosmic fire. He had watched worlds die as their suns expanded into red giants. He had led fleets through battles that killed millions. Nothing had prepared him for what he saw now. The darkness of space rippled like water disturbed by a falling stone. Light bent and twisted in ways that violated every law of physics he understood. And from that impossible distortion, a ship emerged. No, not just a ship. A vessel unlike anything Vexatoran had ever imagined. It was massive. The main body stretched nearly 3 kilometers long, its surface covered in angular plates of dark gray metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Weapons arrays lined its sides, each one larger than his entire flagship. The engines at its rear glowed with a soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. But what caught his attention most was the symbol painted on its hull, a circle of blue surrounding a sphere of green and brown. Surrounding this symbol were words in a language his translators struggled to process. United Earth Navy Ship Prometheus, the translator finally produced. Earth Defense Fleet. Vexatoran felt his 4 hearts stop beating. Earth, he whispered. The humans. Every species in the galaxy knew about Earth. It was a small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system at the edge of explored space. The Galactic Council had discovered it about 200 years ago and classified its inhabitants as a Category 7 civilization. Primitive. Pre-spaceflight. Barely worth noticing. The Council had placed monitoring stations around the system and essentially forgotten about the little world and its primitive inhabitants. The humans were centuries away from developing faster-than-light travel. They were not considered a threat or an asset, but now one of their ships was floating in the middle of a galactic battlefield, somehow possessing technology that should have been impossible for them to develop. Admiral, his sensor officer spoke, and Vexatoran noticed that her hands were trembling. I am getting detailed readings now. That ship has weapons systems that are generations beyond anything in our fleet. Its shields are unlike any technology I have ever seen. And, Admiral, that ship has a crew of approximately 8,000. All of them are reading as human. How? Vexatoran demanded. How is this possible? The humans are primitive. They barely left their own world 100 years ago. I do not know, Admiral, but that ship is real, and it is charging its weapons. On the Zorath flagship, Commander Krath stared at the impossible vessel with all 16 of his eyes. His massive clawed hands gripped his command throne hard enough to leave marks in the metal. What is this thing? He demanded of his crew. Where did it come from? His sensor master, a small, hunched creature whose species had been absorbed into the collective decades ago, operated its console with shaking fingers. Great, Commander. The ship emerged from some kind of dimensional fold. We have never seen technology like this. Our sensors cannot fully analyze its construction. Origin? The markings indicate humans, Great Commander, the Earth species. Krath rose from his throne, his towering form casting shadows across the bridge. Impossible. The humans are nothing. Insects crawling on a mud ball. They possess no technology worth noting. The evidence suggests otherwise. Great Commander. Krath turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to that ship. I will speak to these humans. The connection established almost instantly, and Krath found himself looking at a human for the first time. The creature was small compared to Zorath standards. It stood upright on 2 legs with 2 arms and a single head. Its skin was brown, and its eyes were dark and calm. It wore a uniform of gray and blue, decorated with symbols Krath did not recognize. I am Commander Krath of the Zorath Collective, he announced. "You have entered a combat zone without authorization. Identify yourself and explain your presence, or you will be destroyed." The human smiled. It was a strange expression that showed flat teeth. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Navy, and with respect, Commander, you are not in any position to make threats." Krath felt rage building in his chest. "You dare? One ship, human. You have one ship. I have 400. Your primitive technology cannot stand against the might of the collective." "You seem very confident about our technology," Admiral Chen replied calmly. "Tell me, Commander, how long have your people been watching Earth?" Krath waved a dismissive claw. "The collective does not concern itself with insignificant species." "That is exactly what we were counting on." Before Krath could respond, his sensor master shrieked in alarm. "Great Commander, I am detecting massive energy buildups throughout the human vessel. Their weapons are targeting our fleet." "All ships, defensive positions!" Krath roared. "Prepare to destroy that ship!" But Admiral Chen's voice cut through the chaos. Still calm, still carrying that strange human smile. 200 years ago, you began watching our planet. You saw primitive creatures struggling with basic technology. You saw wars and conflicts. You saw weakness. On the view screen behind her, Krath could see human crew members moving with practiced efficiency, their movements coordinated and purposeful. "What you did not see," Chen continued, "was what we truly were. You did not see our scientists working in secret laboratories. You did not see our engineers developing technology you cannot comprehend. You did not see our military building ships in hidden facilities beneath our oceans and within our moon." Krath felt something he had not experienced in centuries: fear. "You saw what we wanted you to see," Admiral Chen said. "A helpless world, a harmless species. You never considered that we might be hiding, that we might be waiting." "Waiting for what?" Krath demanded. Chen's smile faded, replaced by an expression of cold determination. "Waiting for you. We detected your fleet 6 months ago when you entered this sector. We knew you would come here. We knew you would try to destroy the Kalari and their civilians. And we decided that we could not allow that to happen. You cannot stop the collective. We are inevitable." "Nothing is inevitable, Commander. Not death. Not defeat. Not your victory. The universe has a way of surprising those who believe they understand it. Today, the universe is going to surprise you." On the Prometheus Bridge, Admiral Sarah Chen ended the transmission and turned to her command crew. These men and women represented the finest officers Earth had ever produced. They had trained for this moment for decades. Now it was finally time. "Status report," she ordered. Commander James Rodriguez, her executive officer, checked his displays. "All weapons systems charged and ready, Admiral. Shields at maximum. The Kalari fleet is holding position behind us. Zorath fleet is forming attack formation." Chen nodded. "They will try to overwhelm us with numbers. Standard Zorath tactics. They have never faced an enemy who could match their technology." "Until today," Rodriguez said with a grim smile. Chen looked around her bridge. Every station was manned by highly trained officers. Every system was functioning perfectly. The Prometheus was the culmination of 2 centuries of human ingenuity and determination. It carried weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand the heart of a star. But more importantly, it carried hope. Hope for the Kalari civilians fleeing behind them. Hope for the countless species the Zorath had conquered. Hope for a galaxy that had nearly surrendered to tyranny. "All hands," Chen announced, her voice carrying to every compartment of the massive ship. "This is the Admiral. For 200 years, humanity has hidden in the shadows. We watched as empires rose and fell. We watched as billions suffered under the yoke of conquest. We watched because we were not ready." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Today, we are ready. Today we announce to the galaxy that humanity stands with those who fight for freedom. Today, we show the universe what humans are capable of when we fight for something greater than ourselves. On every deck, crew members stood a little straighter. Hearts beat a little faster. Hands steadied on controls. The Zorath believe they are the ultimate power in the galaxy. They believe no force can stand against them. Let us show them how wrong they are. Let us show them what happens when they threaten the innocent. Let us show them why the galaxy should never, ever underestimate humanity. Chen turned back to the view screen, where the Zorath Armada was beginning its advance. 400 warships against one. "All weapons," she commanded. "Open fire." And in that moment, the galaxy changed forever. The Prometheus came alive with devastating power. Along its sides, massive energy cannons discharged beams of concentrated destruction that sliced through space at light speed. The first Zorath cruiser did not even have time to register the attack before it was cut in half, its sections spinning apart in cascades of fire and debris. Admiral Vextoran watched from his flagship in stunned silence. The human ship was not just fighting the Zorath, it was systematically dismantling them. Each shot from its weapons destroyed or crippled a Zorath vessel. Its shields flared bright blue as return fire splashed harmlessly against them. "This is impossible," his tactical officer whispered. "No single ship should have this much firepower." "The humans," Vextoran said slowly, "have been lying to us all, to the entire galaxy." He thought about all the reports he had read about Earth. Primitive technology, internal conflicts, a species barely capable of reaching its own moon. Every piece of information had painted a picture of weakness and insignificance. Now he understood. The humans had never been weak. They had been hiding, playing a role so convincingly that even the oldest and wisest civilizations had believed it. And now, when the galaxy needed them most, they had revealed their true nature. On the battlefield, the Prometheus continued its devastating assault. Commander Krath screamed orders at his fleet, but nothing they did could stop the human vessel. Their weapons could not penetrate its shields. Their ships could not match its speed. For the first time in the history of the Zorath Collective, they were facing an enemy they could not defeat. "Fall back!" Krath finally ordered, his pride crumbling under the weight of impossible reality. "All ships, fall back!" But Admiral Chen was not finished. The Prometheus surged forward, its engines blazing with blue fire, positioning itself directly in the path of the retreating Zorath fleet. Its weapons continued firing, creating a wall of destruction that the Zorath could not pass. "This is Admiral Chen to all Zorath vessels," her voice broadcast across every frequency. "Your advance ends here. Your conquest ends here. Turn back now, or be destroyed. There will be no second warning." For a long moment, the galaxy held its breath. The Zorath had never retreated. The Zorath had never shown mercy, and they had never received it. Their entire civilization was built on the principle of total victory or total destruction. But today, facing a single human ship that had just destroyed a quarter of their fleet, Commander Krath made a decision that would echo through history. "All ships," he said quietly, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. "Retreat. Full speed back to the outer rim." The Zorath Armada turned and fled. Hundreds of warships that had seemed invincible just hours ago now ran from a single vessel and its impossible human crew. On the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, Admiral Vextoran watched them go. Then he looked at the human ship that had just saved his people. 2 million Kalari civilians would live because of what happened today. The Kalari Dominion would survive because humans had chosen to reveal themselves. "Open a channel to the human vessel," he ordered. When Admiral Chen's face appeared on his screen, Vextoran did something he had never done before in his centuries of life. He bowed. "Admiral Chen," he said, "the Kalari Dominion owes you a debt we can never repay. You have saved our people." Chen nodded gracefully. "The Kalari have been good neighbors to our sector of space. You never threatened Earth. You never tried to conquer us. In our culture, we repay kindness with kindness. But why reveal yourselves now? Why show the galaxy what you truly are?" Chen was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of humanity's long silence. "Because the time for hiding has passed, Admiral. The Zorath will not stop with your people. They will continue their conquest until nothing remains but slavery and death. Someone had to stand against them. Someone had to show the galaxy that tyranny can be resisted." "One ship against an empire?" Chen smiled. "One ship today. But Admiral, I need you to understand something. The Prometheus is not unique. It is not even our most powerful vessel. Earth has been preparing for this moment for 2 centuries. We have fleets. We have armies. We have technology that would make the greatest civilizations in this galaxy weep with envy." Vex Toran felt his hearts racing. "You built all of this in secret?" "We built all of this in hope, Admiral. Hope that we would never need to use it. Hope that the galaxy would find peace on its own. But hope fades when darkness spreads. The Zorath have shown us that peace cannot be achieved through hiding. It must be defended." Chen stood straighter, her eyes burning with determination. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history. Humanity is no longer watching from the shadows. We are stepping into the light, and we will stand with anyone who fights for freedom against those who would destroy it." She extended her hand toward the screen. An ancient human gesture of partnership. "Admiral Vexatoran, will the Kalari Dominion stand with us?" Vexatoran looked at his officers. He looked at his fleet, battered but surviving. He looked at the transport ships behind them, filled with civilians who would have died today without human intervention. Then he turned back to the screen and performed the Kalari gesture of alliance, pressing all 4 of his hands together. "The Kalari Dominion will stand with humanity until the stars themselves burn out." Chen smiled. "Then let us begin." In the darkness of space, a new alliance was born. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere on the outer rim, Commander Krath stared at the distant stars and felt something his species had never experienced before. Fear of humans. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within hours of the battle, every inhabited world knew what had happened. A single human ship had appeared from nowhere and defeated an entire Zorath armada. The impossible had become reality, and nothing would ever be the same. On the capital world of the Galactic Council, High Chancellor Mordax watched the recordings for the 12th time. His ancient eyes, dimmed by centuries of political service, studied every detail of the human vessel. The way it moved through space, the devastating power of its weapons, the impossible technology of its shields and cloaking systems. "Play it again," he commanded his aide. "High Chancellor, you have already watched the recording many times. Perhaps we should focus on the emergency session of the Council." Mordax turned to face the young aide, and his expression made the creature step back in fear. "I have served on this council for 400 years. I have witnessed the rise and fall of empires. I have negotiated treaties that saved billions of lives, and in all that time, I have never once been completely wrong about anything." He gestured at the frozen image of the Prometheus on the display. "Until now, I personally approved the classification of Earth as a Category 7 civilization. I signed the documents declaring humanity a non-threat. I assured the Council that the humans were centuries away from becoming relevant to galactic affairs." The aide said nothing. "I was wrong," Mordax continued. "We were all wrong. And now we must face the consequences of our assumptions." He walked slowly toward the massive windows that overlooked the council capital. Millions of beings went about their daily lives below, unaware that their entire understanding of the galaxy had just been shattered. Summon the council, Mordax ordered. Full emergency session. Every species, every representative, we must decide how to respond to this revelation. And the humans, High Chancellor? Should we invite them as well? Mordax was quiet for a long moment. Yes, it is time we stopped treating them as subjects to be observed. It is time we treated them as equals. Light years away, Commander Krath stood in the throne room of the Supreme Collective Mind, the absolute ruler of the Zorath civilization. The room was vast and dark, filled with shadows that seemed to move on their own. At its center sat a creature so large and so terrible that most beings died simply from looking at it. Krath kept his 16 eyes fixed on the floor. He had failed. In the entire history of the collective, no commander had ever lost so many ships in a single engagement. No commander had ever retreated from battle. The punishment for such failure was always the same. "You ran from a single ship," the Supreme Mind spoke, its voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere at once. "One vessel crewed by insects, and you turned your fleet and fled like prey animals." "Supreme One," Krath dared to respond. "The human ship possessed technology beyond anything we have encountered. Our weapons could not penetrate its shields. Our sensors could not fully analyze its construction. To continue the attack would have meant total destruction of the fleet. And you believe survival justified your cowardice?" Krath hesitated. In the collective, survival without victory was considered the greatest shame. Warriors who retreated were supposed to die in the attempt or face execution upon return. He had broken every code his people held sacred. "I believed," he said carefully, "that information about the human threat was more valuable than honor. If I had died with my fleet, the collective would know nothing about what we face. Now, because I survived, we can prepare. We can adapt. We can find ways to overcome their technology." The Supreme Mind was silent for a long time. The shadows in the room seemed to grow darker, pressing in on Krath from all sides. He felt the weight of judgment bearing down on him, crushing his spirit with each passing second. Then impossibly, the Supreme Mind laughed. It was a sound that shook the walls and cracked the floor beneath Krath's feet. "You speak wisdom, Commander, most unusual for a warrior." The massive form shifted in the darkness. "I have studied the recordings you transmitted. The human vessel is indeed formidable. But you are wrong about one thing." "Supreme One? You assume their technology is superior to ours. It is not. It is simply different. Their weapons operate on principles we have not explored. Their shields use energy patterns we have never considered. But these are not impossibilities. They are merely problems to be solved." Krath finally dared to look up. "You can overcome their technology?" "Given time and samples, yes. The collective has conquered thousands of species. Each one brought new knowledge, new techniques, new understanding. The humans will be no different. Their technology will become our technology. Their ships will become our ships. And when we have learned everything they have to offer, we will destroy them utterly." "What would you have me do, Supreme One?" "You will return to the battlefield. You will take a larger fleet, equipped with adaptations based on what we learned from your recordings, and you will not retreat again. Either you will bring me a human ship to study, or you will die trying." Krath bowed deeply. "It will be done, Supreme One." As he turned to leave, the Supreme Mind spoke one final time. "Commander, the humans have hidden their true nature for 2 centuries. They are patient, they are clever, they are dangerous. Do not underestimate them again." "I will not, Supreme One." On the Prometheus, Admiral Chen stood in her private quarters, staring at a small photograph attached to her desk. It showed a young girl, maybe 8 years old, smiling at the camera while holding a toy rocket ship. The girl's eyes sparkled with wonder and hope. That girl had grown up to command the most powerful warship ever built by human hands. But sometimes, In quiet moments like this, Chen still felt like that child dreaming of the stars. A chime announced a visitor. "Come in," she called. Commander Rodriguez entered, his face showing the exhaustion they all felt. "Admiral, we have received a communication from the Galactic Council. They are requesting our presence at an emergency session." Chen nodded. "Expected. How long until the session?" 3 days standard time. They are also requesting that we bring representatives who can speak for all of humanity. Humanity does not have a single voice, Commander. We never have. The Council seems to believe otherwise. Their message specifically mentions the desire to negotiate with our unified government. Chen smiled slightly. They watched us present a united front in battle, and assumed we must be united in all things. A reasonable conclusion, but incorrect. We showed them the Prometheus because our differences could wait. Now those differences will become apparent. She stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. The Kalari fleet was still nearby, its ships receiving repairs from human engineering teams. In the distance, the remnants of destroyed Zorath vessels drifted as silent reminders of what had happened. "Inform Earth," Chen ordered. "Tell the Defense Council that we need to prepare a diplomatic delegation, and tell them to be honest. The time for deception has passed." "Admiral, are you sure that is wise? Our strength lies partly in mystery. If we reveal our internal divisions, our disagreements, the galaxy may see us as weak." "They may," Chen agreed, "but they would learn the truth eventually. Better to show them who we really are now than to build a relationship on lies. We have deceived the galaxy for 2 centuries. That served its purpose. Now we must earn their trust through honesty." Rodriguez nodded, though his expression showed uncertainty. "There is also the matter of the Zorath. Our analysts believe they will strike again, and soon. The Supreme Mind will not accept this defeat." "No, it will not. The Zorath psychology does not allow for peaceful resolution. They will keep attacking until they are completely destroyed, or until they destroy us." Chen turned to face her executive officer. "How is the crew holding up?" Proud, exhausted, terrified, all at the same time. They knew this day would come, but knowing something and experiencing it are very different things. "Tell them I am proud of every single one of them. What they did today will be remembered forever. They struck the first blow for galactic freedom." "And what happens next, Admiral?" Chen was quiet for a moment. "Next, we discover whether the galaxy is ready to stand together against tyranny. Next, we find out if all our preparations were enough. Next, we learn whether humanity made the right choice in revealing ourselves." 3 days later, the Prometheus descended through the clouds of the Council capital world. Millions of beings stopped in the streets to watch the human vessel arrive. Some stared in wonder. Others looked with fear. Many simply could not believe what they were seeing. The ship landed on the largest platform in the diplomatic quarter, its massive form dwarfing every other vessel present. When the landing ramp lowered, a squad of human marines in ceremonial armor marched out first, their movements synchronized with machine precision. Behind them came Admiral Chen and her diplomatic team. High Chancellor Mordax waited at the bottom of the ramp with a delegation of council representatives. He studied the humans carefully as they approached. They looked so ordinary. Soft skin, no natural armor or weapons, 2 arms, 2 legs, eyes that could only see a limited spectrum of light. Nothing about their physical form suggested they could pose any threat to the galaxy. And yet, "Admiral Chen," Mordax spoke, his translator device converting his words into human language. "Welcome to the Council capital. I am High Chancellor Mordax, and I speak for the gathered civilizations of this galaxy." Chen stopped before him and extended her hand. "High Chancellor, thank you for receiving us." Mordax looked at the offered hand with confusion. I am not familiar with this gesture. It is called a handshake, an ancient human tradition indicating peaceful intentions and mutual respect. Chen smiled warmly. We clasp hands briefly. It symbolizes trust between equals. Mordax considered this, then carefully wrapped his manipulator appendages around Chen's hand. The human skin felt strange, warm and soft, but the grip was firm. "You surprise me, Admiral," Mordax said. "I expected displays of power and threats of violence. Instead, you offer gestures of friendship." "Humanity has never desired conquest, High Chancellor. We built our fleets and developed our technology because we knew threats existed in the galaxy. We hid ourselves because we were not sure we could trust the civilizations around us. But our goal has always been the same, to live in peace with our neighbors and to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Then why reveal yourselves now? Why show the galaxy your true capabilities?" Chen's expression grew serious. "Because the Zorath leave no room for peace. They conquer or destroy. There is no middle ground with them. When we detected their fleet moving toward Kalari space, we faced a choice. We could continue hiding and watch 2 million civilians die, or we could act and save them. And now the Zorath know you exist. They will come for your world. Let them come. We are prepared." Mordax studied her face, looking for any sign of doubt or fear. He found neither, only calm certainty and an iron will that he had seen in very few beings during his long life. "The Council has many questions, Admiral, about your technology, about your intentions, about how you managed to hide your true development for so long while we believed you to be primitive. I will answer everything honestly, High Chancellor. The time for secrets between us has passed." They walked together toward the massive council chamber, surrounded by representatives of dozens of species. Each one looked at the humans with different expressions: wonder, suspicion, hope, fear. The galaxy had just discovered that one of its most ignored species was actually one of its most powerful. The council chamber was a vast circular room designed to hold thousands of representatives from across known space. At its center stood a raised platform where speakers addressed the assembly. The walls were covered with screens showing translations in hundreds of languages. When Admiral Chen stepped onto the central platform, silence fell across the chamber. Every eye, every sensor, every attention focused on the small human female who had just changed everything. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Council," Chen began, her voice amplified to reach every corner of the room. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Navy. I have been authorized to speak on behalf of the human species." She paused, looking around at the assembled civilizations. 214 years ago, your survey ships discovered our world. You studied us from orbit, analyzing our technology, our society, our potential, and based on that analysis, you classified us as Category 7, primitive, insignificant, not worth further attention. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "You were wrong," Chen continued, "but not in the way you might think. At the time of that survey, your classification was accurate. We were primitive. We had barely developed nuclear power. Space travel was in its earliest stages. We posed no threat to anyone but ourselves." She took a deep breath. "But humanity has a quality that your analysts did not consider. We learn. We adapt. We improve. And when we realized that we were not alone in the universe, that vast civilizations existed among the stars, we made a choice. We chose to protect ourselves through secrecy while we developed the capability to survive in a galaxy full of potential threats." "You deceived us deliberately," a Kalari representative accused. "You pretended to be weak while building weapons of war." "Yes," Chen admitted without hesitation. "We did. And if I could go back in time, I would make the same choice again. When we discovered your galaxy, We learned that empires rose and fell through violence. We learned that weak species were conquered, enslaved, or destroyed. We were weak. We had no way to defend ourselves. So we hid, and we grew strong in the shadows. And now you reveal yourselves as warriors, another representative spoke. You enter galactic affairs through an act of war. We entered through an act of protection, Chen corrected. The Zorath were about to murder 2 million Kalari civilians. We could have remained hidden and allowed that massacre. We chose not to. We chose to value innocent lives over our own security. She stepped closer to the edge of the platform, her eyes sweeping across the assembly. I understand your concerns. A new power has emerged that you knew nothing about. A species you dismissed as irrelevant now possesses technology that rivals or exceeds your own. It is natural to feel afraid. It is natural to wonder what our intentions are. Chen spread her hands in a gesture of openness. So let me tell you what humanity wants. We want peace. We want trade. We want friendship with every civilization willing to offer it. We do not desire conquest. We do not seek to rule others. We have enough challenges on our own world without adding more. Then why build such powerful weapons? High Chancellor Mordax asked. Why create ships like the Prometheus if you desired only peace? Because peace cannot exist without the strength to defend it. The Zorath have shown the galaxy what happens when tyranny goes unchallenged. They conquer world after world, because no one has the power to stop them. We built our fleets so that we would have that power, not to threaten others, but to protect everyone, including ourselves, from those who would destroy freedom. The chamber was silent. Representatives exchanged glances. Their translators working overtime to process not just Chen's words, but their implications. You speak of protection. A Zorath observer spoke from the diplomatic section. His presence had been required by council law, even though his people were technically at war with multiple member species. You speak of defending freedom, yet you ambushed our fleet without warning. You destroyed hundreds of ships and killed thousands of warriors. Is this your definition of protection? Chen turned to face the Zorath directly. Your fleet was about to murder civilian refugees. Your commander offered them only death, quick or slow. In that moment, yes, we chose to protect the innocent by destroying those who threatened them. And if we had been the ones fleeing, if Zorath civilians had been in danger, would you have protected them? The question hung in the air. Every representative waited for Chen's answer. Yes, she said without hesitation. We would have. Humanity does not measure the value of life by species or origin. Every sentient being deserves the chance to live in peace. If Zorath civilians were threatened by violence, we would defend them just as we defended the Kalari. The Zorath observer made a sound that might have been laughter. Your words are kind, human, but we both know what will happen next. The Supreme Mind will not forgive this defeat. Our fleets will return. Your single ship cannot protect everyone forever. Chen smiled. You are correct. The Prometheus cannot protect the galaxy alone. But the Prometheus is not alone, and neither is humanity. She turned back to the full council. We came here today not to demand anything or to threaten anyone. We came to offer an alliance. The Zorath will attack again. They will attack our world. They will attack your worlds. Divided, we face them alone. Together, we might stand a chance. You are asking us to trust a species that deceived us for 2 centuries, Mordax observed. I am asking you to trust a species that risked everything to save strangers. We could have stayed hidden. We could have watched the Kalari die and remained safe in our secrecy. Instead, we exposed ourselves to the entire galaxy because we could not stand by and allow innocent lives to be lost. Chen took a final breath. Judge us not by our deception, which was born of survival, but by our actions, which were born of conscience. We protected those who needed protection. We will continue to do so. The only question is whether we do it alone or together. High Chancellor Mordax rose from his seat. The chamber fell silent as the ancient politician considered his response. "The council will deliberate," he announced. "We will contact you with our decision. In the meantime, Admiral Chen, you and your delegation are welcome to remain on the capital world as our guests." "Thank you, High Chancellor." As Chen descended from the platform, she felt the weight of countless eyes upon her. The fate of the galaxy might depend on what happened in the coming days. Humanity had stepped out of the shadows at last. Now they would discover whether that step led to alliance or isolation. But across the stars, the Zorath were already preparing their response. Commander Krath stood on the bridge of his new flagship, surrounded by a fleet twice the size of the one he had lost. His ships had been modified, upgraded with new weapons and shields designed specifically to counter human technology. "Set course for the Kalari border," Krath commanded. "We will draw the humans out. We will test their strength. And this time, we will not retreat." The fleet moved forward, engines blazing with blue fire. War was coming, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The warning came at midnight. Admiral Chen was asleep in her quarters on the council capital when her communicator screamed with emergency alerts. She was on her feet and dressed within 30 seconds, her body responding with reflexes trained over decades of military service. "Report," she commanded as she strode onto the Prometheus bridge. Commander Rodriguez met her with grim news. "The Zorath have returned, Admiral. 800 ships. They are attacking the Kalari border colonies." Chen moved to the tactical display. The holographic map showed the enemy fleet like a spreading stain of red, consuming everything in its path. 2 Kalari defense stations had already fallen. Civilian transports were scrambling to evacuate, but the Zorath were moving too fast. "Time to intercept?" 4 hours at maximum speed. "But Admiral, we have received updated intelligence from Earth. The Zorath fleet is carrying new weapons. They have analyzed our technology from the previous battle and developed countermeasures." Chen studied the data flowing across her screens. The Zorath had worked fast. Their new weapons operated on frequency patterns designed to disrupt human shield technology. Their ships had been reinforced against human energy weapons. They had adapted. "Clever," she murmured. "But adaptation works both ways." Her communicator chimed with an incoming message. It was High Chancellor Mordax. "Admiral Chen, the Council has been monitoring the Zorath attack. We have reached a decision regarding your alliance proposal. Now is not the time for politics, High Chancellor. People are dying." "I agree. That is why the Council has voted to accept your offer. Kalari, Venthari, Seltoran, and 17 other member species have pledged their fleets to fight alongside humanity. You are no longer alone." Chen felt something release in her chest, a tension she had been carrying since the moment they revealed themselves. "How many ships?" "Combined with the Prometheus, approximately 300 vessels. We are outnumbered, but we will fight together. Then tell your fleets to rendezvous at the following coordinates. We will make our stand there." She transmitted the location and ended the call, then turned to Rodriguez. "Contact Earth Defense Command. Authorization code Chen Alpha 77. Rodriguez's eyes widened. "Admiral, that code activates the reserve fleet." "The time has come, Commander. Humanity cannot win this war with one ship. It is time to show the galaxy what we have been building." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean on Earth, massive doors that had remained closed for decades began to open. Water churned as ship after ship rose from hidden facilities. They emerged like ancient sea monsters awakening from sleep, each one a masterpiece of human engineering and determination. The Athena, the Valkyrie, the Yamato, the Bismarck. Names pulled from human mythology and history, each representing a different aspect of human spirit. 37 warships in total, hidden beneath the oceans and inside hollowed asteroids, waiting for the moment when they would be needed. From the moon, another fleet launched. These were the interception ships, smaller and faster, designed to strike and disappear before enemies could respond. 200 of them streaked across the void like silver arrows. And from Mars, from the secret facilities buried beneath the red dust, the heavy carriers emerged, each one capable of deploying thousands of fighters and support craft, each one armed with weapons that could shatter moons. Humanity had not built one ship to protect itself. Humanity had built an armada. At the rendezvous point, Admiral Chen watched through her view screen as vessels from across the galaxy assembled. Kalari cruisers with their elegant curved hulls, Venthari destroyers bristling with weapons, Celtoran carriers that seemed to flow through space like living things, and among them, the human fleet, finally revealed in its full glory. "Admiral," Rodriguez spoke quietly, "we are receiving transmission requests from Allied commanders. They are asking about our additional ships." "Put them through." Multiple holographic windows appeared, showing alien commanders of various species. Their expressions ranged from shock to awe to something that might have been fear. "Admiral Chen," Admiral Vex Torin spoke first. "You told us the Prometheus was not unique. You did not tell us you had hidden an entire fleet." "We had many secrets, Admiral. Now you know them all. Earth has been preparing for this moment since we discovered we were not alone. We built ships in hidden locations across our solar system. We trained crews in secrecy. We developed technology that we hoped we would never need to use. And yet you revealed only one ship before," a Venthari commander observed. "You could have shown us this fleet from the beginning." "We could have," Chen agreed. "But we did not know if we could trust you. We did not know if the galaxy would see us as allies or threats. One ship was a statement. An entire fleet might have looked like preparation for conquest." "It still might," someone muttered. Chen turned to face the source of the comment, a Celtoran commander whose species had long been suspicious of outsiders. "Commander, if humanity wanted to conquer the galaxy, we would not be here coordinating a defense against the Zorath. We would be attacking your worlds while you were distracted." The Celtoran commander had no response to that. "The Zorath are coming," Chen continued. 800 ships against our combined 337. We are outnumbered, but numbers are not everything. We have technology they do not fully understand. We have the advantage of defending, not attacking. And we have something the Zorath will never have." "What is that?" Vex Torin asked. Chen smiled. "Hope. The Zorath fight because they know nothing else. They conquer because their entire civilization is built on domination. We fight because we believe in something worth fighting for. Freedom. The right of every being to choose their own destiny. The protection of the innocent against those who would harm them." She looked at each commander in turn. "Today we show the galaxy that tyranny can be defeated. Today we prove that cooperation between species is stronger than conquest. Today we stand together and tell the Zorath that their empire of fear ends here." The commanders nodded, some reluctantly, others with growing determination. "All ships, form up according to the battle plan I am transmitting now. Human vessels will lead the assault. Allied ships will provide support and protect our flanks. Remember, the Zorath have adapted to our technology. They will try to overwhelm the Prometheus specifically, believing it to be our only significant threat. Let them believe that for as long as possible." As the fleet moved into position, Chen felt a strange calm settle over her. This was what humanity had prepared for. This was why generations of engineers and scientists had worked in secret. This was why millions of young men and women had trained and sacrificed without ever knowing when they would be called to serve. The Zorath fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel exactly where Chen expected them to appear. 800 warships filled the void, their dark hulls blocking the stars behind them. Commander Krath's flagship, twice the size of the Prometheus, hung at the center of the formation. "Open a channel," Chen ordered. Krath's image appeared on her screen. His 16 eyes burned with hatred and anticipation. "Admiral Chen, you have brought friends. How touching. Commander Krath, I offer you one final chance. Withdraw your fleet. End this war. Return to the Outer Rim and leave the free peoples of this galaxy in peace." Krath laughed. "And I offer you the same choice I gave the Kalari. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and I will personally ensure that every human suffers for generations. Then we have nothing more to discuss." Chen ended the transmission. "All ships, combat status, launch fighters, charge all weapons. Today we make history." The battle began with fire. The human fleet advanced in a wedge formation, with the Prometheus at the point. Energy beams lanced across the void as both sides opened fire. Ships died in explosions that briefly outshone the distant stars. The darkness of space became a chaos of light and destruction. Chen watched the tactical display as her officers coordinated the massive engagement. The Zorath new weapons were indeed effective. Their modified energy cannons were punching through human shields more easily than before. But the humans had adapted too. "Deploy countermeasure satellites," Chen ordered. "Frequency rotation pattern Gamma." Small devices launched from human ships, positioning themselves throughout the battlefield. They began broadcasting interference patterns that disrupted the Zorath targeting systems. Enemy shots that had been striking with deadly accuracy began to miss. "Zorath fleet is compensating," Rodriguez reported. "They are adjusting their targeting algorithms." Expected. Phase 2. The human heavy carriers launched their fighters. Thousands of small craft poured into the battle, swarming around Zorath vessels like angry insects. Each fighter was piloted by a human who had trained for years for exactly this moment. They struck at weapon emplacements and sensor arrays, blinding and crippling the massive warships. Commander Krath watched his tactical display with growing frustration. "These humans are more cunning than I expected. Target their carriers. Destroy the source of those fighters." 50 Zorath warships broke from the main formation, heading directly for the human carrier group. But they were intercepted by Kalari cruisers that had been waiting in reserve. "Admiral Chen," Vex Torin's voice came through the communication channel. "We will hold them. Focus on Krath's flagship." "Acknowledged. Thank you, Admiral." The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides were destroyed or crippled. The void became cluttered with debris and bodies, and the flickering remnants of failed shields. But slowly, impossibly, the tide began to turn. The Allied fleet was holding. More than holding. They were pushing the Zorath back. Krath refused to accept what his eyes were telling him. "Impossible. We have superior numbers. We have adapted to their technology. How are they winning?" His tactical officer studied the displays with growing horror. "Great Commander, the Allied fleet is coordinating with unprecedented efficiency. Their ships are working together as if guided by a single mind. Every attack is optimized. Every defense is perfectly positioned. We cannot find weaknesses to exploit because they are covering each other's vulnerabilities. The humans are coordinating them. They must be. Our analysis suggests so, Great Commander. Human command protocols are synchronizing Allied fleet movements in real time. It is as if they have practiced fighting together for decades." Krath slammed his fist against his command throne. "We need reinforcements. Contact the Supreme Mind. Request additional fleets." "Great Commander, it will take days for reinforcements to arrive. We may not last that long." For the first time in his life, Krath considered the possibility that the collective might actually lose. Not just this battle. Everything. The humans had revealed capabilities beyond anything his people had imagined, and they had forged an alliance that was proving stronger than Zorath numbers. "All ships," he commanded. "Focus fire on the Prometheus. Destroy their flagship. Without it, the coordination will collapse." 200 Zorath warships turned their weapons toward the Prometheus. The concentrated fire was devastating. Admiral Chen felt her ship shudder as shield after shield collapsed under the onslaught. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, Rodriguez reported. "We are losing structural integrity. Reroute power from non-essential systems. Keep the shields up as long as possible." "Admiral, we cannot survive this much longer." Chen gripped the arms of her command chair. The Prometheus was the heart of the fleet. If it fell, the coordination would falter. The alliance would fragment. The Zorath would win. Then, from the darkness of space, new signatures appeared. "Admiral, I am detecting multiple vessels dropping out of FTL. Unknown configurations." Chen looked at the tactical display and felt tears forming in her eyes. The new ships were not unknown. She recognized every single one of them. They were human. More human ships, arriving from every corner of Earth's solar system. The true reserves. The ships that had been held back even from the first reveal. Vessels that had been hidden so deeply that even most of Earth's military leadership had not known they existed. "This is Admiral Marcus Cole of the United Earth Navy," a new voice broadcast across all frequencies. "Sorry we are late. Traffic was terrible." 50 more human warships joined the battle, fresh and fully armed. They struck the Zorath flanks with devastating precision, breaking the concentration of fire that had been destroying the Prometheus. "Cole," Chen whispered, recognizing the voice of her old academy classmate. "You magnificent fool." "Less talking, more surviving," Cole replied. "The Council sent us when they saw you were in trouble. We made the jump as fast as we could." The arrival of reinforcements shattered what remained of Zorath morale. Ships that had been fighting fiercely began to waver. Some commanders tried to retreat. Others continued attacking out of fear of what awaited them if they fled. Commander Krath watched his fleet collapse around him and made a final decision. "All ships, fall back to my position. We will make our stand here." His remaining vessels, perhaps 300, gathered around his flagship in a defensive sphere. They were surrounded now, trapped between Allied ships on all sides. Chen opened a channel. "Commander Krath, your fleet is destroyed. Your reinforcements will not arrive in time. Surrender now, and your warriors will be treated with honor. The collective does not surrender. Then the collective will die here. Is that what you want? The deaths of thousands more of your people?" Krath was silent for a long moment. His 16 eyes scanned the tactical display, seeing the inevitable outcome. The Allies had won. The question was only how many more would die before it was over. "If I surrender," he said slowly, "my warriors will be slaves. The Supreme Mind will not accept their return. Then let them choose new lives. The galaxy is vast. There are worlds where former Zorath could build new communities, free from the collective's control. We do not offer slavery. We offer freedom." "Freedom?" Krath spoke the word as if tasting something unfamiliar. "A strange concept for my people." "It is a concept worth learning." Another long silence. Then, slowly, Krath's flagship began powering down its weapons. Around him, other Zorath ships followed suit. "I accept your terms, Admiral Chen. My warriors will surrender. But know this, the Supreme Mind will not stop. What we have lost here, it will rebuild. This war is not over." "Perhaps not, but today it pauses, and every day of peace is a day when people live who might otherwise die. That is worth fighting for." The battle ended not with a final explosion, but with the quiet powering down of weapons. Zorath warriors filed out of their ships and into Allied custody. Many of them looked confused, unsure how to exist without the constant pressure of the collective's demands. On the Prometheus bridge, Admiral Chen watched the surrender proceedings with exhausted satisfaction. The ship was badly damaged. Dozens of her crew had died. But they had won. Against impossible odds, against an enemy that had never known defeat, they had won. "Admiral?" Rodriguez spoke softly. "You should rest. The battle is over." "The battle is over," Chen agreed. "But the work is just beginning." She looked out at the gathered fleet. Human ships floating alongside Kalari, Venthari, Seltaran, and a dozen other species. Different civilizations that had found common cause against tyranny. It was the beginning of something new. Something that could change the galaxy forever. 3 months later, the Treaty of Cooperation was signed in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council. Representatives from every allied species placed their marks on the document, pledging mutual defense and shared progress. Among them stood the human delegates, no longer observers, but full members of the galactic community. High Chancellor Mordax addressed the assembly. "Today marks a new chapter in our history. Species that once viewed each other with suspicion now stand as allies. A threat that seemed unstoppable has been stopped, and a species that we dismissed as primitive has shown us what courage and determination can achieve." He turned to Admiral Chen, who stood beside her fellow human representatives. "Admiral, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend our formal welcome. Humanity is no longer a mystery watching from the shadows. You are our partners, our defenders, our friends." Chen stepped forward. 200 years ago, humanity looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone. We discovered that we were not, and that discovery frightened us. We saw empires and wars and conquest, and we wondered if there was a place for our species in such a galaxy. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of beings from countless worlds. "Today I know the answer. Yes, there is a place for us, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as partners in building a better future. The galaxy is vast and full of challenges, but together there is nothing we cannot overcome." The chamber erupted in applause. For the first time in history, humans and aliens celebrated together as equals. Far away, on the edge of known space, the Supreme Mind received reports of the defeat. Its massive form shifted in the darkness as it processed the information. "Interesting," it whispered to itself. "Very interesting." The humans had surprised it. They had shown capabilities the collective had not anticipated. They had built alliances that should have been impossible. They had won. But the Supreme Mind was patient. It had existed for millennia. It had consumed thousands of species. One defeat, no matter how significant, would not stop it. "Study the humans," it commanded its servants. "Learn everything about them. Their history, their culture, their weaknesses. We will attack again, and next time, we will be ready." In the void between stars, the collective began to rebuild. The war was not over. It had barely begun. But for now, the galaxy had hope. For now, humanity stood with its new allies, ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. For now, there was peace, and sometimes that was enough. On the Prometheus, repaired and ready for new missions, Admiral Chen looked out at the stars. She thought about the journey that had brought humanity to this moment, the centuries of hiding, the difficult choice to reveal themselves, the battle that had changed everything. "Admiral," Rodriguez said, joining her at the viewport, "what happens now?" Chen smiled. "Now we explore. We build. We learn. We help our allies recover from the Zorath attacks and prepare for whatever comes next. We do what humans have always done." "What is that?" "We survive. We adapt. We grow stronger. And we never, ever give up." She turned from the window and walked toward the bridge. There was work to be done, a galaxy to protect, a future to build. Humanity had stepped out of the shadows at last, and the galaxy would never be the same again.